So, that's how I'm going to start all my videos. A really loud so. Anyway, I'm bored, and I feel like being the tutorial guy. So, you want to learn how to build a rocket. It's pretty simple, really, right? Strap a bunch of pieces together, put some fuel tanks on it, put a nice powerful engine in there. It's got a rocket, right? Right. Question is, can that rocket get to space? Nobody knows. You might know. I don't, because I don't know your rocket. Anyway, I'm going to go with a design that I know works pretty well. I'm going to use the one-man pod because I don't feel like getting that other giant thing into space right now. So, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. This module right here, the Advanced SAS module. That's right, you can put a British Special Forces member right to the side of your rocket. But no, this guy and this guy, which is the same thing but much larger for the larger fuel tanks, will basically, it's kind of like an autopilot that keeps you from spinning out of control and hurtling into your death. So, we're going to take a small decoupler here, and this is going to be a pretty simple rocket, but it's going to go really far, because it's going to be really small and really big at the same time. So, put a decoupler there, and I'm going to put a parachute here, just in case something stupid happens. And then, I don't know if I want to get this into orbit or not. Yeah, let's get into orbit. That's probably a good point for a tutorial, huh? So I'm going to put one small fuel tank there, and this is going to be the return stage. This is going to be my deorbit stage. So when I want to come home, fire this engine up, and go backwards. You know, good old stuff. And put another decoupler onto that. You're going to want to pay attention over here, because the game has a tendency to put things in an order that is less than optimal. And it'll put decoupler stages in the wrong spot, and it'll fire engines at the wrong time. It'll do everything it can to mess you up bad. Okay. That said, these decouplers are very weak, and they get very wobbly the taller your thing gets, and the heavier the bottom is, the lower down your center of gravity is, the more wobbly it's going to get. So, be wary of that. Which is what's going to happen with this. And that's why I'm going to use lots and lots and lots of these guys. The structural strut connectors. Very, very nice. So, got an adapter here. This is a new part for 0.17. This wasn't available in 16 or the previous versions. So, and I'm going to use these fuel tanks here that were available since 0.16. I'm going to stack, let's say 4 of these. This is going to be pretty big. And I don't know about 4 of them. I don't, well, yeah, I think 4. No, not 4. We're going to stack 3 of these. And these things are really heavy, so you're going to want a big mother lubber to get them up there. So I'm going to use actually the most powerful engine available. Big 1500 thrust mother lubber. He generates a lot of thrust, but also eats fuel like a damned cow. And so, this is too heavy to get out into space by itself with that amount of thrust and fuel consumption. So, we're going to take these big decouplers here. They might be big, but they're not very strong. They have an ejection force of 180, which isn't actually a whole lot when you consider the size of these things. You'll see why later. Well, actually you won't, because I'm going to prevent that from happening. Sometimes they'll just fall off and kind of drift back into the spaceship and just hit the fuel tanks, and everything dies, and it's very unpleasant. So at this point, by default, you can hit X, and it'll cycle through the symmetry up here. You can go up to 8x symmetry, which will place things, obviously, at 8 facets at even points. You can also hit C to cycle through angled, snap-angled, or circular placement, which is called, yeah, doesn't have a name. But yeah, I usually keep it on angles just because it's convenient and it gets things pretty exact. So I'm going to put it on double symmetry here, and put that about right in the middle of this line. Come over here, take another one of these big buddies, and get that right in the middle there. Line it up with the other one. There we go. Then you can press Alt You can hold down Alt and click on something, and it'll duplicate it. That might be more apparent if I clicked on this. Just duplicated this section here. Or I can click on this one, and it'll... Apparently it does everything downward. So, yeah, it just duplicates parts. It's pretty useful. You can also press Shift and click, and that'll let you drag the whole thing around without having to click on the command pod. Otherwise, you just tear parts off like that. Control Z is your basic undo. You can hold Shift and scroll the mouse wheel, zoom in and out. You can also press the plus and minus buttons, and mine is stuck, so it's going all the way in. On the numpad there, actually. Yeah, only on the numpad. And obviously, you probably know the rest of the camera controls. So we're going to take a couple more large engines, stick them right there. And then we're going to take this, and I don't know if I wanted that tall. I'm going to take one of the halfies here, put that there. And just for aerodynamic purposes, take that, put that there. And then you can either head it off with these nose cones, followed by one of these. But that looks kind of silly, so I'm just going to put one of these little fat boys on there. That works fine. And then a new addition in 0.17 is these separatrons, which are incredibly powerful and very useful. They only have a thrust of 20, but I think that's a lie, because these things are pretty gnarly. These are to aid in stage separation, what I was talking about earlier when they just kind of smash into each other and blow up. These prevent that from happening. You can point them any direction you want, but they will damage and destroy parts. On my last ship, I have them pointed this way. They don't destroy anything, but the flight readout reads that everything is damaged on the way down, because it just kind of blows everything up. So you just turn them slightly, and notice I still have symmetry on, so it's putting one on the other side of this one, just because of the weird mirror symmetry here. And I don't remember how many times I hit that. Oh, you can hit space to reset the rotation. You can also hold Shift to put it in smaller increments. Obviously, WASD turns those, so I'm going to turn this 5 notches that way. I'm going to put the same one on the other side over here. Turn it 5 notches that way. And now we have one on each side, because I like evenness. And what these are going to do, what you want to do with these is put them on the same stage as your decouplers, so they fire when your decouplers go. And if you're using a mech-jeb, the autopilot system, these will not activate by themselves. I'm going to drag these up on top of those just in case. I don't know if that actually makes a difference, but so if you have a mech-jeb, it'll interpret these as basically ascent engines, and it won't activate them on its own, even if you have your separation stage here and these are empty. So, what I'm also going to do is to increase fuel efficiency on my main engine, which is this middle one. I'm going to put these fuel lines, these fuel ducts here, so that these side tanks feed. Oh, that looks silly. These side tanks will feed into the main tank, basically making it so these fuel tanks are used before these ones. So once these decouple, I still have all of this fuel left to get this big thing into space. Okay, so what we want to do here is this is going to be a little wobbly. Actually, I don't even know if this can make it all the way into orbit, but that's the point of spaceship building in the game, is if you're not really good at math, you can trial and error until you get it right. Even if you are good at math, you're still going to do that. So you want to take some structural supports here and wire those up so it doesn't wobble. They're pretty light, so you can use them pretty liberally. They weigh 0.05 tons, which is nothing. I use them very liberally. I put them everywhere because I don't like wobbly ships, because they're very hard to control, especially if you're not using the autopilot system. So I'm going to put a couple more there, and that ought to keep that from... Actually, on my last one, I put one here, connected to the center. Now I'll put one on the other side here. Same thing over here. Try to get this as even as I can. Throw that in the center. And got that one over there. So there's that. So that should fly okay. Shouldn't wobble around too much. It's not that tall. It's not as tall and heavy as my other one. So. Oh, you know what? We need a circularization stage because this isn't gonna cut it. How can I do that? Because I mean, this thing will get up, and then it will get there, and then we'll decouple this. But we're gonna need more than that amount of fuel to actually get this thing orbiting the planet. I think what I might do is just use my standard craft that's basically the same thing I'm building right now. It's not much different. So we're going to load into that. And I'm actually going to turn these because I don't need those damaging my fuel tanks anymore. So there we go with that. And oh, wait a minute. Oh, the symmetry's off. So look at that. There we go. Just take them off real quick and replace them. And so this is mine. This is my old one. That's the MechJeb console, which I'm going to take off. And I got the large ASAS right here, which I actually forgot to equip on the old one. Got a medium half-E fuel tank right here that feels. So this canister feeds into this one, and same on this side, and then these two feed into the bigger one, and then the bigger one feeds these two. So you got all this fuel for circularization, and this thing usually actually circularizes with enough fuel to make a transfer to another planet, which is nice. And you can see I have struts everywhere. Those are also nice. And I have this stage to ignite all 3 engines on launch, all the fuel tanks, all that stuff. Got my separatrons hooked up to my decouplers here. And then those pop off, and this thing goes until the fuel is out, and then I have this separation stage with this large decoupler right here. And then it breaks off into my whatever this thing is. Which, it doesn't like to fly through space all that well, so I'm going to fix that by adding a very large, this is also new in 0.17, this RCS tank that controls that gives fuel to the reaction control system. Before we had, oh crap, I had a stupid mod installed. So before we had these things, which fit onto these smaller fuel tanks. They're the same size. They're 1 meter. I think they're 1 meter, something like that. But recently we got this very large one, which is nice. So I'm gonna get one of those. I'm gonna drop some RCS blocks for translation in any direction, because I don't want linear ports, because I don't know which directions I'm going to be needing to toss myself around in. I'll put 2 more there, and this thing has a ton of RCS fuel, so I can also use these pretty liberally because they're also pretty light. I'm going to put 1 on each side of this. And I know this, oh, actually let me do that. I'll just put them on here. There we go. Yeah. Yeah! Like a mouse. Put a parachute up there just in case something bad happens. This would be the Expedition X1. Why don't I just make it... I forgot that was a Roman numeral, not just an X. There we go. Expedition 11. So I also have, you can find these little winglets here in the last page of the command and control tab. These actually move. The structural and aerodynamic wing sets do not move. They're purely aerodynamic. That's why they're in here. All of these wing pieces, the I don't even know what these things are called anymore. Control surfaces, I guess. These all move and pivot, so they actually do help, and this helps. These help a lot guiding this thing up. So this thing looks all ready. You can take a look at it. I'm actually going to upload the craft file for anyone who wants to put it into their game and use it. They can. It's very capable of interplanetary flight. I've made it all the way to Joule, Duna, made landings. I can make landings anywhere with this thing. So can you, if you know how. It's a little complicated to make moon landings on other planets' moons, because just the way the system works, and how much fuel you have. And if you're really good at the game, you can do it, but if you're watching this tutorial, chances are you aren't really good at the game, so good luck. If you figure it out, please tell me, because I would like to know. These RCS ports are going to become useless after this separates, just because there's not going to be any RCS fuel, and also just because this thing's very, very easy to control with just these parts. But they weigh practically nothing, so it really doesn't matter. You can, during flight, you can hit R. You can hit R to toggle the RCS system, and you can hold H, and that will propel you forward instead of side to side. You can actually use it for emergency re-entry if you need to. Really, really slight adjustments to your orbits. Very, very useful for interplanetary flight. I don't know if that works with the linear RCS ports. It might only work with the blocks. I don't know if that really... I don't know if these are actually as linear as they say. So I don't think they can gimbal or move or anything, so... I've been rambling for a bit. Let's go. I'm going to save this and hit launch. And I'm going to try to pilot this thing without the autopilot, and it's probably going to be very difficult, because this thing likes to wobble a lot. Rodfred Kerman, on his way to space. But we're not going interplanetary right now. That's a tutorial for another time. We're just going to hit into orbit, and then we're going to come back. Look at this thing. It's already wobbling. Look at it go. I'm going to turn on the SAS module by pressing T. That toggles it. F is a button hold toggle. You can see it at work already, trying to stop the wobbling by turning the things by itself. You can see over here it's constantly trying to adjust itself. So, let's launch. Real slow takeoff because this thing's really heavy. Notice these are all the same size. I wasn't doing that in the last one just because the top was much lighter, but I need this extra fuel to carry this big hunk up into the air. Also available in 17. This is very nice. These aren't done yet, but they are looking pretty good. Got your radar altitude, your normal altitude, vertical speed, got your surface speed, your nav ball. These lights, they actually work. You can turn them on and off. And let's go make sure I'm not tipping over. You can also double click on the window. You can double click a few things and zoom straight into them. Those didn't work as nicely as they used to because I turned them a little bit, but it still rescued my main craft from exploding catastrophically. As you can see, I'm still intact. So everything's going pretty good here right now. About 25,000 meters. I'm gonna take a nice turn, about to 50 or 45 degrees on the 90-degree axis, so I can start gaining some horizontal speed. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm just holding down F and D. Gotta be real careful. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to go too fast. And tap W and S and try to line yourself up with the 90-degree mark so you can keep yourself on an equatorial orbit. And this seems like a pretty good inclination here, so I'm gonna keep it here until about I don't know, around 50,000 feet. Watch the map like a hawk, because you need to watch your apoapsis, unless of course you have a MechJeb. You can find that information in the little panel that shows up over here in the orbital information box. It'll show you your apoapsis and perigee, or apogee, or whatever you want to call it. I can finish this turn here and go back. You don't want to go all the way back up, and you don't want to do that. But you want to keep it angled, but you don't want to keep it too angled because you still want to gain some altitude. You don't want to fly too straight out. So we're gonna go up to like, let's see, that works. That works fine. Out of fuel, 196,000. That's good. So we're gonna hit X, and that cuts the fuel feed automatically, just like that. And we're gonna engage our RCS system because we're already spinning out of control because this thing is weird. Yeah, as you can see, those things are firing pretty nicely and keeping it in good control. And we're gonna press the comma and period buttons to time warp. Also press the period key on the numpad while you're in the map view to bring this thing up, which allows you to modify your thrust and your angle and everything. So you can basically fly while you're in the map mode, you just can't see anything. So we're going to time warp up to our apoapsis here. And I'm gonna start my circularization burn about 5,000 feet or 5,000 meters before that. So I'm going to 196, so I'm going to start it at 191. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright, so I'm a little late, but line up with the horizon on the nav ball. Keep the RCS on. Hit the engines. I wanted to start a little early because you always lose a little bit of mileage when you're circularizing because you begin to fall. Obviously, you slip past your apogee and start to go down. I'm pushing it up a little bit, but pretty soon I'm going to pass it and I'm not going to be able to maintain upward thrust because of gravitational pull and all that stuff, and I'm not facing the right direction. But that's all good. These engines are definitely powerful enough, and I have more than enough fuel to bring me into a circularized orbit. As you can see, I wish I didn't have all this trash around the planet. You can see the blue lines starting to branch out off the planet. It takes a while, depending on your engines and your setup. Weight doesn't really affect it too much out here because you're in space. These engines have 370 specific impulse in a vacuum, it looks like, which is pretty good. That's quite a bit of impulse. The nuclear engines have 800, but they only have a thrust of 60, while these have 220, I believe. Those nuclear engines are very good for space travel after you're already in parking orbit, which is what I'm doing right now. As you can see, the perigee is coming up. I'm going to keep an eye on that, make sure it sort of kind of lines up with the apoapsis here, which is 197,000 meters. It starts to spin around because your apoapsis is always your highest point. The apoapsis is always the furthest point of your orbit. So that raised quite a bit. This is up to 191 now. Because I'm bad at this game, I'm going to go around to my apoapsis so I can circularize and get a pretty non-eccentric orbit going on. Go into time warp here and come around the side. Slow down before I get there so I don't overshoot too much. There we go. And probably should have explained this earlier, but you have markings on your nav ball. You got the yellow circle with the X, and you've got the normal yellow circle. The yellow circle is prograde. This is what you use to damn it, stop that. This is what you use to extend the reach of your orbit, and retrograde is the other one with the X through it, and that shortens your orbit, which is what you use to deorbit and land, or just shorten your orbit to go faster. The Oberth effect, you look it up on Wikipedia, it explains it pretty well. Oberth effect does take effect in this game, so you can use that to your advantage. A very simple layman's term of that effect is the faster you're going, the better your rockets work. So take advantage of that. And you will go faster when you're in a tight gravity well. Say I have an apogee on this planet of, okay, I can't get this close enough because I'm stupid, but say I have an apogee of, I don't know, 1 million kilometers, and I have a periapsis of 100,000 kilometers. Or no, 100 kilometers. Yeah, there you go. 100,000. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I mean. So I go way out here. Actually, that's 11 million. But I come way out here, and I slow down, and I start to come back. And the more I come back, the more speed I gain. And by the time I'm down here, I'm up to probably around 2,500, 3,000 meters per second. At that speed, my rockets are far more effective at my periapsis while I'm traveling fast than they would be at my apoapsis while I'm going very slow, because the gravity's pulling me back and making me almost stop in my orbit. To turn around, you'll notice that a lot out towards Minmus and on the outer reaches of Joule. You'll have a lot of very, very slow orbits when you're turning around. Like these guys out here, this is debris from my first attempt at landing on Joule, or not landing on Joule. You can't land on a gas planet unless by land you mean explode in a pool of metallic hydrogen and get absorbed into the, you know. Anyway, these guys, once they reach around out here, they're going about 150 meters per second, which is pretty slow. That's about the same speed as you get in a takeoff on a jet on Kerbin. And over here, on the gravity well of the sun, they're probably going around, I don't know, how fast are they going now? They're going 5,000 right now, and they're pretty far out. So when they get over here, they're probably going 15, at least. Actually, let's find out. Oh, I can't go that fast while I'm in here. Well, we'll do that later. Right now, we need to learn how to deorbit. So we got a pretty nice circular orbit here, around 260,000. It's a little bit off, but it's good enough. If you've managed to get it this exact on your first try, congratulations, you're doing better than I was. It takes a while to learn this game. It's got a lot of math into it. I'm going to attempt to land on KSC. I'm very, very bad at landing on this game because I'm really terrible at compensating for atmospheric drag and all that rotation and stuff. So, like, if you retrograde and your landing spot's here, it might end up here, depending on how you did that. So, when you retrograde, the point 180 degrees from you is going to come at you. It's going to go into your orbiting body. So if I retrograde here, this point around right here is going to come straight in and smash into this Africa looking spot. And then by the time I actually get to the planet, it's probably going to be over here. So I'm going to warp around this way, maybe around right here. No, a little farther. Then I'm gonna turn retrograde. And if you land in the water, that's fine. Right now, there's no way to get out of the water. Rescue missions are pretty difficult, especially if for some reason the hardest rescue missions are on Kerbin. I've never been able to rescue people, Kerbinauts off of Kerbin, and I've rescued Kerbinauts off the moon. I tried to rescue Jeb and everything exploded, and then the other guys actually lived and got off the moon and went home. But so I'm going to retrograde here. As you can see, it's shortening on this end, but not this end because I'm here and can't do that. So it's going to come in. I'm thrusting pretty slowly here. I'll speed it up a little bit. And there's a maneuver you can pull off called aero braking, where you come into the atmosphere, which is 70,000. The lower you go, the more aero brake you have. You fly through the atmosphere, and it slows you down. And then at that point, you can. That also actually makes you go faster a little bit. It's really weird, hard to explain, hard to use. You can actually use that to land pretty efficiently if you're going really, really fast. But also shrink your apogee. I think I might have retrograded a little too far. Yeah, I definitely did. You can see this is already coming over here. So I'm gonna. Oh man, this is impossible. Oh, make it stop. Gotta be really careful and pay attention when you're maneuvering with a bulky craft when you're not on your final stages that are really small. These are kind of hard to control if you don't pay attention. So I'm gonna go into retrograde over here and lock in with my SAS module. If it wants to cooperate. The SAS module is pretty bad at realizing that you're using RCS, so it'll bob around a bit. See, I've used RCS this entire time, and I still have this much fuel left. This thing is enormous. I mean, well, it doesn't tell me how much it has, but it has a lot. It weighs quite a bit. I'm actually going to prograde back out a little bit, get my my perigee back up. It's about 20,000, 25. Actually, I'm going to go to 30 because I don't know how well this actually works. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to aero brake. So when I come into the atmosphere here, it's going to start slowing me down, which should be pretty quick. Just about 70,000 is where it locks you out of time warp and puts you in physical time warp, which is really bad for large ships, by the way. Don't do that. Automatically went to time warp 1 because I'm now in the atmosphere. And pretty soon here, this number will start, well, it's already dropping just really slowly. It's going to start dropping real quick. I might not have put it up high enough. I'm not sure because I've never really done this before. I rely on MechJeb heavily to land because I'm very, very bad at approximating landing areas. So I want to land on the same continent as KSP. That'd be a new best for me or not KSP, KSC, Kerbal Space Center. That'll be a new best for me because I've actually never been able to do it before. So I'm gonna stay prograde, and I'm gonna get about halfway over the ocean. So this is working pretty well. That perigee's not going down as fast as I thought it would. So I'm gonna switch over to retrograde here. You can flash your SAS on and off to slow the system down a little bit so it doesn't mess you up too hard. I'm just going to slow burn my perigee down. Actually, I'm going to burn fast because it looks like it's doing some weird stuff. I actually might have done myself a good deed. See what's happening right now is I'm creating a really, really flat parabolic orbit. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to have to burn a lot to get my speed down enough to land on this. Ooh, this is going to be a close one. I do have a parachute, which is really, really good for slowing yourself down, but you can't attach much to it, otherwise it'll kind of mess you over. The parachute will just break off. Now, since the planet's spinning, you can see my landing point is moving on the land, right? So we're doing pretty well. I'm going to drop these and drop this. Oh, I'm in time warp. That's why I'm moving so fast. That was crazy. See, I'm coming down. I'm not coming down on KSC because I'm not that cool, but you can see it's right over there, and this is the first time I've ever landed this close. I'm actually going to activate this. This isn't going to... Actually, I might be able to land with this. You can see probably here. Look at those guys go. The atmospheric drag's really slowing me down, and that little burst of impulse I just gave it really gave me some extra slowdown over that. And you can see my SAS is on, but I don't actually have a SAS module, so it's all coming from this, which isn't very powerful. So, ooh, we're at 6,000 meters, so we're gonna try to slow ourselves down a little bit. I don't have any landing legs. This might not end as well as I want it to. Give it a little bit of thrust just to keep the speed from climbing too much. We're going to get it down to, I don't know, let's get it down to like 70 or 80. Oh, it's having me increase it as I go. This is really hard to keep control of. Now I could easily demonstrate the use of the parachute here, but I want to see if I can land this without anything blowing up, other than those guys, obviously, because they don't count. They're not cool enough. Real slow burn here. This thing is really fuel efficient. It's pretty fuel efficient for what it can do. Obviously, it's helping me land here, so I'm actually down to 37 meters per second in vertical speed. 34, 33, getting down there. As long as you keep on your retrograde, you should come into a straight down descent like this. It kills all of your horizontal speed. As long as you keep it pretty centered. Don't let it trick you. When you slow down a lot, it will fly off to the other side. That's when you start to turn around. Look at this, this is perfect. Look at all that smoke. Going at 6.4. Ah, good. I've got it to a spot where it's just. Oh no. See, this is the part where I don't want to gain any more horizontal speed. It'll make it really hard to land solid. That's making it really hard for me. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, well, I let off the thrust too hard and it didn't work too well. The engine destroyed, but still got the fuel tank, and it's still probably halfway full. I didn't even look at it. But we're landed, and we're safe. See? Come in here, and you're actually strapped to the bottom of this thing. So my back is on the ground right now. My back's right here. It's on the ground. Oh, there went the parachute. That was weird. So you actually rear your head up and stick your face into the window there, and you can see outside. And you can spin around in circles with the rotation keys, and now it's not going to let me anymore. I guess I'm stuck. So you can come down here, EVA, yoink. Alright, we're safe on Kerbin. Mostly. The engine exploded because I was careless, but you know what? That was a pretty good landing. I actually got really close to my mark. Get back in here, end the flight. And that's okay. See right here, you can see the Separatrons still damage my my fuel tanks and my liquid engines. Not to the point of destroying them, thankfully, but they still took some damage because those thrusters are pretty powerful and they have a big death ray behind them. But that's okay. Separation stage is confirmed. We went into orbit around here. Or no, I think we went into orbit at stage 7. No, we went into orbit at stage 9. 7 and 5 were those last two. And then crashed into the terrain. Decoupler collided, crashed into the. Oh, those are the other parts. Nose cone explodes. Blah 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 blah. Okay, this is where I landed, right here. And then I separated the command module, this one, went on EVA, boarded, and now we're done. Back to the tracking station. And that's how you fly. And I have one guy, he's landed on Mars. Duna. And it's nighttime on Mars. Whoa, look at that. A halo. Anyway, yeah, that's the basics. How to fly, how to build a spacecraft that can actually make it into space. And if you follow my instructions and you're good at tapping WASD really, really fast to keep yourself straight, you're set. You're all good. Wow, Jebediah is really happy. Look at him. Woo! Really happy little Kerbal there. He's really happy to be stuck on Mars by himself forever. Oh, that's weird. The cap is back. I already used this parachute to land here, because there actually is an atmosphere here. It's just like real Mars. He's rather happy to be stuck in this little one-man pod that doesn't have any food or anything. In the jet modules, there's actually a little thing right down here. It says life support, but I'm not seeing that anywhere. So he must be eating out of those canisters. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like mayonnaise. Mayonnaise! It's good for you! Yep. Enjoy. Go fly. Tell me how it goes. post some comments or something if you actually watched this. One of the probably less than 50 viewers that will watch this. Good luck!